Ted Bundy, the Chameleon Killer. Ted Bundy remains arguably the most famous serial killer in American history, and for good reason. In the 1970s, while most people were enjoying disco and bell-bottoms, Bundy was redefining the phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover." By day, he was the all-American dream, handsome, charismatic, and even worked at a suicide prevention hotline. The irony is almost unbearable. By night, he transformed into something far more sinister. Bundy's first confirmed kill came in 1974, a university student who never stood a chance. But here's what makes it worse. Some victims were kidnapped from their own apartments while they slept. Imagine the horror of waking up to your worst nightmare already happening. From 1974 to 1978, Bundy confessed to killing 30 women, but experts believe the number could exceed 100. His methods were brutal, strangling or beating his victims before engaging in acts too disturbing to detail here. He even kept decapitated heads as trophies in his apartment. Bundy was arrested in 1975 but escaped custody twice, once by literally crawling through a ceiling. He spent 9 years on death row, still trying to appeal his sentence, still trying to manipulate the system. On January 24, 1989, he was finally executed by electric chair, ending one of the most terrifying chapters in American crime history. Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal. If Ted Bundy redefined stranger danger, Jeffrey Dahmer redefined homemade meals, in the most horrific way imaginable. While most teenagers obsessed over their first crush, young Jeff was apparently thinking about murder. And it came sooner than anyone expected. At just 18, Dahmer gave his first victim a lift, strangled him with a barbell, and then dismembered the body. This became his signature, his modus operandi. He would lure unsuspecting men back to his apartment, promising them a good time, then drug them. Once unconscious, the nightmare truly began. His freezer wasn't stocked with normal food, it was a menu of horror. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer killed 17 men and boys. That's 13 years of active killing. For 13 years, this man could have been your neighbor, the guy on the bus, or your coworker at the Milwaukee Ambrosia chocolate factory where he actually worked. Dahmer's reign finally ended in 1991 when one victim escaped and led police to his apartment. Officers didn't have to look hard, the freezer was full of remains, and he had kept detailed photographs like a twisted photo album. He was sentenced to 16 life terms but received his own form of justice when he was murdered in prison by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver in 1994. John Wayne Gacy, the Killer Clown. John Wayne Gacy grew up in Chicago and decided that being ordinary was too mainstream. By 1972, Gacy had transformed himself into the Jekyll and Hyde of suburban Chicago. By day, he was a successful contractor and part-time party clown. By night, he was still a clown, but the Pennywise kind. His methods for luring victims weren't subtle. He'd offer young men construction jobs or perform magic tricks. "Let me show you a magic trick," was his calling card, and it always ended with victims in handcuffs, but not in any fun way. One college student actually went to police after escaping, but when officers questioned Gacy, he claimed it was just a misunderstanding. And they believed him. By the time Gacy was caught, he had murdered 33 young men and boys. 29 were buried in or near his house. The irony is staggering. Here was a guy active in politics, photographed with former First Lady Rosalynn Carter, volunteering at children's hospitals, making balloon animals at birthday parties. And on the other side, he could strangle a teenager without blinking. He was finally caught in 1978 after 15-year-old Robert Piest disappeared. When police searched Gacy's home, they found shackles, rope, a class ring with the victim's initials, and a stench that couldn't be explained away. Gacy spent years on death row before being executed by lethal injection on May 10, 1994. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. While most of us fall into harmless hobbies, Gary Ridgway decided to go on a 2-decade killing spree. His first victim was discovered in July 1982, and from there, his only competition was himself. In just 2 years, he killed over 40 women. Ridgway targeted prostitutes and runaways, people society overlooked, people who wouldn't be immediately missed. His method was disturbingly simple. pick them up, engage with them, then strangle them. At first, he used his bare hands, but later switched to ligatures for efficiency. He dumped bodies in wooded areas and near the Green River in Washington, earning him the nickname the Green River Killer. For 2 decades, Ridgway lived a seemingly normal life. He got married, had children, worked a steady job painting trucks, probably complained about taxes like the rest of us, all while maintaining his kill count on the side. DNA technology finally caught up with him in 2001. Turns out, that saliva sample he gave police in 1987 wasn't his smartest move. Ridgway was arrested in November 2001 and pleaded guilty to 48 murders in 2003, with 1 more added in 2011. Today, he's still alive, serving 49 consecutive life sentences at Washington State Penitentiary. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, terrorized Southern California from 1984 to 1985. In just 1 year, he committed at least 14 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. Ramirez took his satanic worship more seriously than a goth teenager at a Hot Topic sale. He'd leave pentagrams at crime scenes, force victims to swear allegiance to Satan, and even carved one into his own palm. His weapon of choice? Everything. Hammers, guns, knives, machetes, it was all fair game. One victim managed to escape and grab a gun, but unfortunately, it wasn't loaded. Ramirez shot her 3 times in the chest, stabbed her, then gouged out her eyes, placing them in a jewelry box before leaving. After his mugshot hit the news, Ramirez was spotted trying to steal a car. Locals decided to play a game of whack-a-mole with his face and served him up on a silver platter for the LAPD. He was convicted and spent years on death row before dying of natural causes in 2013. Dennis Rader, BTK Killer. For New Year's resolution, most people commit to gym memberships. Dennis Rader committed to murder. On January 15, 1974, he strangled 4 family members to death in their home, taking souvenirs and leaving behind evidence of his arousal. From 1974 to 1991, Rader would break into homes, bind his victims, torture them, and then kill them. The initials spelled out his serial killer name: BTK, bind, torture, kill. During this time, he was the average suburban guy: church council president, Boy Scout leader, compliance officer. The irony is almost comedic. But Rader wanted to spice things up, so he started sending "catch me if you can" letters to police, signed with his killer nickname. After a 13-year hiatus, his ego brought him back. He sent cops letters and floppy disks, thinking he was being tech-savvy. He even asked police if they could trace him through a floppy disk. They lied and said no. The disk contained metadata linking back to his church. He was arrested on February 25, 2005. According to his daughter's recent statement, he's now in a wheelchair, rotting to his core in prison. Aileen Wuornos, America's first female serial killer. Between 1989 and 1990, Aileen Wuornos picked up 7 middle-aged men, promised them a good time, then shot and robbed them, dumping their bodies in remote wooded areas. Wuornos claimed all these murders were done in self-defense. Her first victim did have a prior assault charge, making self-defense plausible for 1, maybe 2 cases. But 7 times? The story becomes harder to believe. She was caught in 1991 after police discovered items belonging to her victims at pawn shops. The police needed something concrete, so they turned to Wuornos's lover, Tyria Moore, whom she was head over heels for, ride or die level. They convinced Moore to get Aileen to confess, and it worked. After a decade on death row, Wuornos was executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002. David Parker Ray, the Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray took DIY projects to a nightmare level. He modified a trailer he called his toy box, soundproofed and filled with instruments of torture: whips, chains, clamps, saws, and a coffin. He would kidnap women, torture them for months, and presumably kill them. When he first brought in a victim, he would make them listen to an orientation tape, him explaining in graphic detail what he would use to torture them and what would happen. It's estimated he killed well over 60 women over 3 decades. The worst part? He was never convicted of murder since no bodies were found. He was only convicted of kidnapping and sexual torture. Some women he released didn't even know they were victims until the FBI showed up with tapes of their abuse. Despite confessions from his daughter and accomplices, they couldn't find bodies. He kept a detailed journal on victims' abduction dates, torture methods, but conveniently not where he dumped bodies. Ray died of a heart attack in 2002 before serving his full sentence. Dean Corll, the Candyman. Dean Corll, also known as the Candyman, made it unacceptable to take candy from strangers, except on Halloween. Working at his family's candy business, Corll earned his nickname by handing out free treats to children. Around August 1970, he murdered his first victim. He'd lure young boys to his home with promises of money or drugs, often with help from teenage accomplices David Brooks and Elmer Wayne Henley. Once inside, he'd restrain them with handcuffs and rope, torturing and assaulting them before killing them. In his 3-year active period from 1970 to 1973, Corll killed at least 28 young boys. His spree ended when he decided to kill Henley and his friends. Henley convinced Corll he was on his side, but when the opportunity arose, shot him 6 times. Both accomplices received multiple life sentences. H. Holmes, America's first serial killer. Born in 1861, H. Holmes was America's first documented serial killer, and he set the bar disturbingly high. While studying medicine at the University of Michigan, Holmes found a gruesome side hustle, stealing cadavers, disfiguring them, and claiming insurance money by passing them off as accident victims. Then he'd sell the bodies to medical schools, double-dipping in the most horrific way possible. But Holmes became truly infamous with his murder castle in Chicago, a building with secret passages, trapdoors, and gas chambers. This 3-story structure was less of a hotel and more like something out of the Saw franchise. Once you checked in, there was no checking out. His methods for profiting were varied. He required employees, fiancés, and hotel guests to have life insurance policies with him as the beneficiary. He would kill individuals and claim their property and assets. He even took over a pharmacy after the owner mysteriously disappeared. The exact number of Holmes's victims remains a mystery. He confessed to 27 murders, but estimates go as high as 200. He was caught in 1894 and sold his confession to a newspaper for $7,500, a businessman to the bone. Holmes was hanged in 1896, but the execution was botched. His neck didn't break, so he dangled there for 15 minutes until he died. Robert Hansen, the butcher baker. As a teenager, Robert Hansen took part in hunting to escape his rough home life. But as he got older, his victims went from animals to human beings. He would abduct women, often sex workers, assault them, then drive or fly them out to the Alaskan wilderness. Here's where it gets truly terrifying. Hansen would hunt them down like prey, toying with their lives. Nicknamed the Butcher Baker by the media, Hansen was confirmed to have assaulted and killed at least 17 women. In 1983, a teenage sex worker named Cindy Paulson was set to be on that list. However, she managed to escape while he was stalking his plane and alerted authorities. Hansen received a sentence of 461 years and died in prison in 2014 after serving 31 years. Andrei Chikatilo, the butcher of Rostov. Growing up in difficult circumstances in rural Ukraine under USSR rule, something broke inside Andrei Chikatilo. To the outside world, he seemed normal, a wife, 2 kids, working as a school teacher starting in 1971. But shortly after getting the job, Chikatilo began assaulting pupils. By 1978, he moved on to killing. He would target young runaways and homeless children, often befriending them at train stations and bus stops before luring them to isolated areas. Chikatilo grew up hearing stories from his mother about how his older brother was kidnapped and eaten by neighbors during the Ukraine famine of the 1930s. Whether true or not, this may have played into his cannibalistic tendencies. He would often remove body parts, particularly eyeballs, noses, and tongues, to keep as snacks. He was caught in 1990 after police noticed him acting suspiciously at train and bus stations via CCTV footage. After interrogation, Chikatilo confessed to 56 murders, though only 53 could be verified. He was convicted of 52 murders and executed in 1994. Christopher Wilder, the Beauty Queen Killer. Christopher Wilder, known as the Beauty Queen Killer, thought himself quite the photographer. But instead of capturing landscapes, he had a sinister interest in aspiring models and beauty pageant contestants. His pickup line game was strong. "Hey there, wanna be a model?" worked better for him than most pickup lines work at bars. Once Wilder gained their trust, he would assault, torture, and kill his victims. He had a particularly disturbing habit. He'd superglue his victims' eyes shut. In the span of just 7 weeks, from late February to mid-April 1984, he killed at least 8 people, though some estimates go as high as 20 victims. Wilder's killing spree ended on April 13, 1984, when he was recognized at a gas station in New Hampshire. During the confrontation with police, Wilder was shot in the chest and died shortly after. Gerald Parker, the bedroom basher. Gerald Parker wasn't one of the complex serial killers. He kept it simple: break in through unlocked windows or doors and bash people's heads in with whatever blunt object he could find. Then he would assault them. He's known to have killed 5 women and attempted to kill a 6th from 1978 to 1979. The 6th victim was pregnant. She survived but lost her child. The woman's husband was wrongfully convicted of Gerald's crimes and served 16 years in prison. Parker was caught in 1996, nearly 2 decades after his crimes, when DNA technology connected evidence from the crime scenes to him. He's still alive and on death row today.